Hi, everyone. Sorry about this. Let's get this started. And let me see. I was going to share some screens, but that's not going to happen today. So I won't need to practice this and then figure it out how to do this better. But let's go over the snake ear a little bit. And I need to pull up my notes. So let me get myself oriented. But first, I'd like to find out how's your snake year's been going. And, welcome to the very exciting up and down, zig and zagging year, right? Because it's just what it is. That's what I talked about. So, and congratulate yourself that you got through it. You got through this far. So that's really good. We had about, say 6 months of practice, little over 6 months of practicing your zig and zagging. So, and I wish I could share the screen, but basically imagine the snakes, right? Snakes going up and down, navigating through life. And it's just one of those things that this universe gives us the chance to work on. So, all right. So anyway, give me a moment, everyone. I have to find my notes and I'm having a hard time. Okay. So first, let's just kind of revisit, what's been going on. Has it been that zig and zagging year that I've mentioned? And it has been, hasn't it? And if you watched my snake year webinar, and I hope you did, and I hope you watch it again, it's important to revisit that as we move forward because this is kind of the midpoint. So it's important to review and revisit what we have been experiencing, what you have learned, what you have been able to shed, what some transformations you've made, because those were some key words about the snake year. And intuition really kicks in this year too. So just imagine the meandering river. That's what we're doing. We thought we're going this way, and then all of a sudden it goes this way. And there'll be some eddies, and then there'll be some obstacles that you have to deal with. And then you move again and you think, oh my gosh, am I on the same path again? Or am I back to the same spot? Well, no, you're not. Look around. The scenery has changed. So we are evolving. We are all transforming. But it just feels a little bit more of the back and forth kind of a feeling. Okay. But there's a certain movements that's happening and we are all growing. Okay. So, first I only had just about 4 slides that I just wanted to share with you, but just let's go back to the first 6 months, which is going to somewhat repeat itself, but maybe at a little more heightened level. So just be aware of that. I cannot sugarcoat the next 6 months for you. I think a lot of people are wanting kind of a sugar-coated, softer messages, but that's not what I'm intuitively feeling. That's not what I sense. And that's also not the snake year. Snake year just kind of keeps going in that rhythm, up and down, side to side, or zig and zagging. So know that you've been practicing this for the last 6 months. Okay. So it's not crazy surprising what I'm going to share with you today. And let's just kind of go back to even what has gone into this up and down. So examples, like the biggest example that I think all of you can connect with and about is the stock market, right? Is the tariffs on? Are the tariffs on or are the tariffs off? We don't know, right? Week to week, day to day. What gets tweeted or expressed can break the market downward or upward. It's been a very, very confusing time. So a lot of like weekly to monthly fluctuations. So just imagine the stock market. That's kind of what your life, maybe in a miniature way or maybe expressed a little bit subtly, but that's certainly what's happening in your life, in your relationships, maybe in your health, maybe in your ways that you are interacting with the world is going to be up and down too. Some days you can engage more, some days you just can't engage at all. And you just go, okay, I gotta go back in. So a lot of that's kind of a natural process of the snake year. And I think this is why I love the Chinese zodiacs. And then I love the Chinese astrology so much. I mean, one, because I grew up in Japan and I grew up with this kind of teachings, but also just knowing that about this lunar year helps you to prepare yourself all throughout the time. So many people just want predictions. They want all these astrological signs and planetary movements and what's going to happen from this week to next month. I mean, we're just all kind of getting bombarded with predictions. But if you can just sit back and just notice what I have shared at the beginning of the lunar year, which was at the end of January, that should have given you at least enough tools to know that, right, that's what was going to happen. That is what's happening. That is what's unfolding this year. So, I think there are many people who you get a lot of YouTube views, right? If you just do predictions for next week and the next week and the next week. But I think I kind of want to maybe sit back a little bit. I want to see the big picture a little bit and assess my life accordingly. So I'm a little more relaxed about this zig and zagging and up and down fluctuations, to be honest with you. And through the tariffs and is it on? Are they on? Not on? Those things caused a lot of a global supply chains issues, and companies can't predict. Companies are really having a hard time how much to import, how much to export, how much to keep in their warehouses. This is impacting small businesses to large businesses to even consumers as well. So it's just been a lot of challenge for many of us. But I hope, like I said, you can go back to what I shared right from the beginning about the snake year and feel a little bit more of inner wisdom kicking in, even though there's so much uncertainties out there. And from the clienteles that I work with, there's been a lot of kind of this hormonal fluctuations that people are experiencing much more than usual. And we're not just talking about sex hormones here. We're not just talking about testosterone and estrogen and progesterone, but a lot of the maybe even like oxytocin levels changing, melatonin levels changing, and lots of different hormones that we produce in our bodies, aldosterone, maybe there's some adrenal hormones shifts are happening too. So be aware, but don't be afraid. Okay. So this is not the time to create more fear inside. It just know that you are on the choppy waters. Okay. And maybe, some of the clients and including myself, a lot of like mood swings and a lot of these extreme weather temperatures, extreme weather expressions, from wildfires to flooding to earthquakes to tsunami warnings and so on and so forth. So really lots and lots of changes, but we've been preparing for this since the year of the dragon also. And that's another really beautiful thing about the Chinese zodiacs and Chinese astrology is that each level, each year, each lunar year is actually preparing you for the next year. So this is the year, the snake year is preparing for the next coming lunar year, which is going to be the horse year. And if you go back, this is the 6th year of the 12-year animal cycles, the zodiac signs. And they're not just animals, really. There are many mythical creatures and things like that too. But these signs were right in the middle. And so if you go back to when the sign of the Chinese zodiac started of this 12-year cycle was the year of the pandemic, so 2020. And it was the year of the rats, right? So I'm born in the year of the rat also. And so it was an interesting year, right, to get started on pandemic, right? Things spreading across. And how do we prepare ourselves for this? How do we work together as community? Because I've talked a lot about this too in the past, but rats are very communal. They work together. So if we didn't do that, that would have been causing a lot of these upheavals now too. And so 12-year cycles are very interesting to pay attention, but know that this is the right in the middle. And that's, to me, very, very fascinating. What are we preparing for the next following 6 years? Okay. So that's one of the things I wanted to mention. And I want to go over maybe, what's the next 6 months are going to look like. And this is not per se like a predictions because it's already been talked about in my first call that I talked about. So it's not really new information. And many of you say, well, yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm already feeling. This is a very heightened intuitive year. So many of you are going to be feeling this. And I will talk about a little bit about this thing called brumation, which is something that the snakes do. So snakes do not hibernate in the way that the mammals do. So let me go over this a little bit right now. And this is going to tie into the next couple things that I want to mention. So snakes do not hibernate, but they enter a state of dormancy called brumation. Okay. And they become less active and their metabolism slows down, allowing them to conserve some energy in colder temperatures. So fall, if you're in northern hemisphere, it's the fall into winter. You're going to be noticing kind of a dialing down of your prana and your energy overall. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, you might have actually already noticed that during your winter months. So it's not that you need to go out of your way to fix that. Just know that you're a part of this natural cycles. Okay. That's the most important thing that I talk about. Are you in this natural cycle of things? Are you respecting the the weather, but the seasons and the seasons of your life? This is getting lost quite a bit because we live in a world that the blueberries are available in the middle of December. We can eat strawberries in January, things like that in the northern hemisphere at least. They're just not really in congruence to the nature, the cyclicality of life. But coming back to the snake and the snakes doing the brumation, basically, not hibernation, but going into brumation, they can still wake up and move around on the warmer days to find like water and food. So it's not a shutdown mode. But you may notice as we go into fall, after, especially like after the harvesting moon, so September, October, you may actually start to notice some changes in your physiology in terms of especially around the energy. So be aware of that. And important to know this, okay, because the fact that the snakes do go into brumation and the fact that you may reflect that in your body. Because, when you disrespect, and then this was interesting because I wrote this up at midnight last night. I just kind of got up and I had the pencil and the paper and I just wrote this thought. It's like when you disrespect the natural rhythms and seasons of life that you are living, and you're ignoring the cycles of life itself by pushing yourself to do more, be more, and say yes to too many things, you are setting up for a difficult start to a new lunar year next year. It could be a disastrous. Okay, just to be honest, I just want to be honest with you. If you disrespect the cycles of the snake year, but also the seasonality of particularly the behaviors of the snake year, this could turn into a much bigger physiological, biological challenges for you next year. So pay attention to when your biology requires time off, rest, and sleep. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. Okay. And there's so much emphasis right now on biohacking, staying alive forever kind of a movement. And as many of you know, I'm not a huge fan of biohacking per se. I think there are many things you can do to support your life, your aging process, so that you don't age fast. But there's this sense of disrespect that I feel from that when you just hack your way through life. And I don't like the word even hacking because it's just a very violent word. So I'm a huge fan of biohugging, right? And I would say, would you biohack snakes that are in this necessary natural state of dormancy? Would you go and start digging up the ground and say, wake up, snakes? Like, you wouldn't probably do that, right? So, why are we doing that to our human bodies and human beings and to each other? So, really understand when yourself needing to rest, or your family members needing to rest, or your friends are saying, no, I just can't be there right now. It's okay to respect that. That's biohugging. And honoring the natural rhythm and the law of nature for the year of the snake means to respect the innate tendencies of the snakes to slow down at certain times of the year. And that's kind of exactly what you're doing too. Okay. And a snake is in the fall into winter in the northern hemisphere has been known to kind of dial down their prana, so they get weaker, and they get weaker life force. That's the prana means life force. So it's making it more important for you to attend to your needs and health. And if you're on my monthly supplement coaching call, I mentioned that this is the time, this is the month to start working on your immune system, and don't wait till November, December to work on your immune system. You need to be working on your immune system right now, especially during the month of August. Okay. So that's kind of something to keep in mind, the brumation. Okay. And key themes for mid to late snake year. So I want to go over this. And then I had a slide, but that's okay. I'm going to just go through one by one with you. One is like I said, I can't sugarcoat this. Okay. This is a tough year. Okay. We're in kind of a transition from the dragon year to little dragon year, right? I've mentioned that in my snake year call that this is called the little dragon year. So it's very up and down and in more frequent increments. Okay. So the mid to late snake year is going to bring higher intensity and volatility. Okay. Especially from geopolitical volatility. I think this is nothing new. Okay. And continued frictions all across the globe. But you have been practicing this. You have known about this year, about this, and you've seen it. You have witnessed it. You have learned about it. So you know how to ride the waves of challenges, right? And then changes, and how to zig and zag in the midst of uncertainties and unrest. So trust yourself. That was one of the things that I've mentioned in the snake year in late January, that you really need to tap into your inner wisdom and trust that. Tap into your intuition that is clear. Okay. I'll talk about that a little bit more here, but you've got to trust yourself and have faith in trusting yourself. Okay. And increased transformation and shedding is absolutely happening. You're going to see and feel more accelerated levels of transformation and shedding in the global level, but in your day-to-day lives as well. And your own life too. You're going to be like, okay, finally, I'm ready to shed that part. Okay. I am ready to say no more to that. And the transformation will need to happen in a big and deeper way. And so, like I said, take care of your immune system, take care of your physiology so that your physical body can handle the heightened levels of volatility and shedding and transformation that you're going to be going through. And expect shifting energetic highs and lows. I think I'm already mentioning this, but anxiety and overwhelm may happen more, maybe occasionally spike a little bit more than the first 6 months or so. But like I said, trust yourself. You've been practicing this, okay? You've been on this practice run for the last 6 months. And I would say I would include the year before also. And ultimately, you've been practicing this for the last basically since 2020, right? 6 years, okay, of the 12-year cycle. And both breakthroughs and tensions will increase. So breakthroughs don't just come easily this year. It's not going to be like, "Ooh, wow, aha, great." It's like, no, breakthrough is going to happen through kind of breaking through the shell of what you have planted. And it's a lot of work to break through. And the tensions build up right before you have a breakthrough. And it'll be periodic waves of social and personal turbulence that you will experience. So it's not to say, "Oh, I'm so afraid of that." No, you are stronger than that. You have worked on your resiliency. So tap into that it is in there within you, especially in your gut area. You got to tap into your second chakra quite a bit. And emotionally charged, say no more, because the global atmosphere in the second half of the snake year is emotionally charged. Well, has been already. So you might be like, well, has been. So is it going to get more? My answer is yes. It's going to get heightened. And with ongoing volatility from both world events and personal realignments, when you break through some of your old patterns and you have a breakthroughs, right? You're going to be realigning yourself. And realignment is tough sometimes. It's like, go to the chiropractor and you get adjusted and you feel good, but like you feel a little bit strange when you get off the table after you got adjustments, or, when you're walking again and you got to readjust your new spinal alignment, right? So just know that that's probably what's going to be happening to many of us. And you are shedding a lot and transforming. So this will happen on both macro and micro levels. So there'll be a lot more zig and zagging and up and down. So you need to know that you can trust yourself. Put your hands on your heart, even right now, and put your other hand on your belly and know that you can trust this. Okay. This more than anything else, actually. And that's important. That's what we need. And I'm seeing through my clients that I work with, you are starting to trust yourself. And I love it. I love listening to that because I've been working on how to do muscle testing on your supplements, how to do muscle testings on your foods you eat, muscle testing on your decisions on what to do, what to take, what to consume. And I could see that all of you are getting better at this. Okay. And the next is the community upheavals and relationship shifts. So changing social and geopolitical landscapes bring group tensions and shifting alliances. So you may have already noticed some of the friendships that you thought you were going to have for a lifetime might have been shed, and you are needing to find a new group, new alliances. That's happening on the macro and micro levels, right? And extreme weather is going to continue. In some ways, is this just a snakier issue? Probably not. And I think you already know that. The environmental and the seasonal stressors are going to continue. So what can you do, right? You will need to attend to what that means, to how to handle that, how to prepare your homes, how to prepare your heart around that, how to prepare your physiology. I'm always about the physical body. I'm always about your biology. Bring that strength to handle these stressors within yourself. That's something you really, really need to work on. And the challenges are going to come up into some of your cardiovascular health, definitely lungs, and also gut. So lots of the digestive issues as well. One is because of the environmental challenges and the wildfire smoke, or maybe even other pollutants that are getting spread after the flooding or too much rain. things like that. That mold issues are going to be a big issue for some of you in parts of the world that you live in. Some of you, it's going to be the wildfire smoke. So you really need to attend to your lungs. And I'll talk about, what supplements and what you can do during the supplement coaching call in upcoming months and things like that. But know that really taking care of your omega-3s are going to be important, and not to get too caught up in or overconsume omega-6s. So that's something I talked about in this month's supplement coaching call, but really find ways to lower inflammatory conditions, because we all have inflammation. Really, no one can escape that, but it's all about managing the inflammation, and seasonally be different inflammations that will come up. Okay. And I suspect that this winter, the flu season, and if you're not taking care of your immune system, like I said in August, it can be pretty challenging. So pay attention to it now. And we could collectively accelerate aging if we don't take care of ourselves. And it's going to be a collective kind of a down regulations, right? So really take care of your organs, especially when it comes to organs that will support your healthy aging. Liver is always number one on my top of the list. Lymphatic system is very important. It's considered to be a form of organ now. And glandular support. So, I use the S.O.S supplement for glandular support, and I love it. You really have to take care of your thymus. Okay. A lot of people don't talk about thymus, but that's specifically important for slowing down the accelerated aging that's really happening to all of us. Okay. I work with the younger people, even like in their 20s, and their accelerating aging is quite visible for me when I work with them. And they're expressing some things that I'm like, this should not be happening for another 2 decades, and it's happening already. So taking care of your glands. Okay. Increased fatigue, insomnia, lethargy, part of it, and then lower vitality also. You're going to probably be experiencing that mid to late snake year, so the next 6 months or so. One, it's because I mentioned about the natural tendencies for the snakes, right? What they do. But also, it's like we're fatigued. We have a collective fatigue building up, and that are exacerbated by environmental disasters and divisive politics and uncertainty about the future. So know that that's happening. And mid to late snake year, pay attention to how you can navigate this. But these things that I just mentioned about the higher intensity of volatility and increased transformation and shedding, and maybe more tensions, but breakthroughs as well. All these things may feel very challenging and negative, but we need to stop labeling it as a good or bad. Also, that's a very dualistic thinking. It's not about that. It's we're growing through this. We're shedding through this. We are transforming through all this. And, it's like a growing pain, isn't it? Like when you're little, and when I work with like younger boys, and the moms and dads will say, oh, my kid is really having a hard time with this pain because he's growing. That's kind of what we're expanding, we're extending, we're growing taller, and we're grounding ourselves further. So that's what we're all experiencing. So despite these challenges, the latter months of snake year bring much needed trust in you and much needed opportunities for breakthroughs and shedding, and also healthy push for processing grief and releasing limited beliefs and behaviors, and finally letting things go. I know you've been working on it. I know all of you have been working on your traumas and griefs and sadness and patterns and old patterns that keep you stuck and small for a long time. But especially in the 12-year cycles, like I mentioned, the first 6 years you've been working on that. And this is the year that you'll be working on again. And horse year is going to bring a very different energy. I mean, you can just imagine going from snake to horse, right? Quite the jump, quite the leap. That's why we're staying put to the earth right now, and we're snaking our way forward on the ground. So don't get too caught up in ascension right now. Don't be too caught up in, I have to move up and out. No, move in and down, descend, not ascend. That's not what we're here to do right now, especially this year. We could be healing inherited patterns and shedding what no longer serves you this year. So important we work on this. Don't, spiritually bypass this. Okay. Don't physically bypass it either. And renewed connection. That's really important. Renewed commitment to making better decisions and caring for your health. So I can't emphasize the health enough. Really important. Okay. We've been working on it for 6 years for a reason, so that you can get to the next 6 more years of this 12-year cycles. You're going to need healthy body. You're going to need healthy physiology to get through. And, renewed commitment to making better decisions and caring for your health, like I said, and renewed connection with trusted people, trusting yourself, but trusted people around you. It might be that you notice that the who you can trust, the number of them has shrunk. And that's okay too. Okay. You may not have a whole bunch of people that you trust right now. And that's okay. Because that's just part of what transformation brings this year. Okay. Maybe you expand, your circle of friends will expand in the coming 6 years. But right now there's like a narrowing, there's like a little bit of a concentrated potency that being asked. Okay. So find people that can really support you in your true essence, your true essential expressions. Okay. And also renewed connection with you and what you really need and required. So take some time this fall. You're going to have time actually, because that shedding and transformation and slowing down. And like I've mentioned, it's this idea that snakes go into brumation, and it's the dormancy that is required. You're going to have a lot of time to really dig deeper into who you are and what is it that you need. Okay. And I will get to the chat after I finish one more, I think maybe. Yeah. Couple of things I wanted to mention here. So what is required for? So I went through what to look for in the mid to late snake year, right? The next 6 months or so. We have it till January. I work on the lunar year cycles. I do not work on the solar cycles. So my year does not end on December 31st. And that's how I operate year to year. So you have all of January to process all this too. So you have time. Okay. But what is required for mid to late snake year for you? Number one. Okay. And what do you need to tap into for the next 6 months or so is a careful maneuvering. So when you watch the snakes maneuver very, very carefully and quietly, strategically. And when it's time to go, boom, it knows when to speed up, right? So careful maneuvering through saying yes to certain things, saying no to certain things, deciding to participate in something, deciding not to participate in certain things. Careful maneuvering. And adaptability, very important. Humans are very adaptive animals. So really it's supportive of us right now, but adapting to what is what you have to answer. Am I adapting to being fearful? Am I adapting to being anxious? Or am I adapting to being resilient, strong, steady, and carefully maneuvering and moving through life? So just pause and maybe list out some of the things that you're adapting to. That maybe certain things you need to shed and certain things you're like, yeah, I want to work a little bit more on that. Okay. Resourcefulness is going to become very important. I think we've been practicing that with the geopolitical issues, even tariffs, even prices going up and down and up and down. We had to become quite resourceful and pay attention to intuitive guidance. It's like, should I do this now? Should I wait a little bit longer? Listen to that resourcefulness that is already in you. Cultivate intuition. It's a year of heightened intuition. I've mentioned that the intuition becomes very, very important, but that intuition becomes very heightened in the next 6 months. And this isn't always prudent or wise. And you might be like, well, I thought intuition is all great. No, because you have to work on how to interpret and translate your intuition and guide it in the right direction. And so this goes back to when you're a child, and if you were intuitive like I was, I could pick up on so many things, and I was picking up on too many things, right? And that became a total overwhelm for me. And so if you can learn to just pause, become resourceful with your intuition, and carefully maneuver your intuition and learn to translate. And this is why I work with a physical body intuition. And this is why I do these coaching calls and one-on-ones to really work with your intuition, because some of you say, well, my intuition says to do this and my intuition says to take this supplement. But when we sit together, we quiet down, we ground ourselves, and we carefully listen to that, we realize that, oh, that was just the feelings. That was just the emotions taking over. So there are clear differences between your emotions versus your intuition. And so really keep working on that, okay? And your intuition needs to be, like I said, translated. And you want to guide it towards the right direction. Don't want to make your, garden into an overgrown and unmanaged mess, right? Your intuition can grow, it can heighten, but it can become a unmanaged and total mess in there too, even though there's some beauty within that you can decipher. Deciphering can become too tough when you get too overwhelmed by heightened intuition. That's like, you don't know if it's heightened emotions or intuitions, okay? And it can create more confusion. Then, like I said, emotions can kick in and muddle the space. So I think keep in mind, maybe write it down, right time, right place. So the intuition has to help you with that. This year is really teaching you what the right moment feels like, in right place, right people. And so it's internally you're reflecting that. We have all been somewhat running, okay? Some of us are like a runaway train. So don't become that runaway train that has to like slam into a wall in order to stop. And that's going to show up as like really bad case of injuries, or that can show up as like you getting really, really sick, right? So notice your speed right now. How can you support your body? How can you prepare yourself for the winter months? And prioritize sleep and gut health. Okay, those two go together actually, because if your gut health isn't great, then your body cannot produce melatonin. That's going to get into issues with your sleep issues, serotonin issues, but also sleep. And this is why I started the supplement coaching session monthly now. I did it last month and this month. I was like being guided to do it. I never did that before, but it just feels right to me to support your health and gut health and sleep health and all that. It's all about proactive self-care this year, especially this next 6 months. And also intentional rest, so important. Intentional rest. Okay, remember the snake, not hibernating, but going into the slow mode. Okay. And healthy boundaries with technology, which I talked about in the snake year video in January, so you can visit that. Some of the boundaries that I talked about there, healthy boundaries with news, global crisis, all this requires continued attention to your own boundaries and recognize the interplay between world events and everyday life, practicing flexibility and perspectives. Flexibility and perspectives. That's something I talked about. Snake is very flexible, right? Paying attention to the journey that you're on. Move in and out, zig and zag, slow it down. And the last thing I want to mention here is nurture your hope. Nurture your hope for the future and nurture your hope for repairing and renewal. The progress is going to be subtle. Your hope is not going to turn into some manifested changes tomorrow. It's going to be very subtle because that's what the 12-year cycles teach us. It's a 12-year cycle. So slow it down. Be more patient about it. It's not going to happen tomorrow just because you thought about it, just because you did some meditation on it. It's subtle and slow, okay? Focus on steady progress. We're laying the groundwork for the next 6 years. We've been laying the groundwork since the year of the rat, on that year that was very, very difficult for all of us, 2020. Okay, but this is the groundwork for the deeper understanding of what it is to be a human being on this earth. So don't lose hope, but I think we also need to remember that we can't just hope for the sake of just hoping. I hope that tomorrow's going to be sunny. I hope tomorrow's going to bring happiness, right? It's important that you carry the hope in the midst of challenges. That's the real challenge, okay, that we are faced with. Can you hold the hope even in the midst of the darkest moments? Because it's easy. It's easy to hold hope, when things are going well. Hope is just like every available commodity anywhere, everywhere when things are great. Things are up and up and things are just amazing. Hope is easy to hold and to tap into. But that's not the hope that I'm talking about. It's the hope that you hold when things are breaking down, when things are transforming, when things are getting tougher. That's the mature spirituality to me. And one of the things that Michael Meade, I really like following his work as well. He said, underlying nature of hope is where we place our trust is where we find despair. Okay, so let me read that again. So where we place our trust is where we find despair. So in a way, where you place your hope is where you may find despair. Where you place your hope is where you find the most destructive, devastating situations. So that's tough. That's tough to hear. But what I'm saying is that that's not the end of the story. You have the strength and resiliency to put the hope in the place of despair, knowing that hope, the deepest, truest sense of hope, can heal that too, right? So have faith in that. Take care of yourself so that you don't add to the burden of the world, so that you are not adding to the energetic fields of despair. Okay, hold that hope even though it feels dark out there. And darkness is so important right now. So, all right. So that's what I have for you, all of you. And I'm sorry that I could not share the screen, but I recommend that you watch the snake ear, the webinar that I did in January. I'll put the link below as well so you can watch it. And also give me some thoughts and comments on the comment sections below. And don't forget to subscribe and let me know, what your thoughts are, where you're at with all this. Okay. And it's love and light. Yes. And love and light and darkness. Do not dismiss the healing power of the darkness that I talk about so often. Remember, if you have pets, you know this, right? When they get injured, when they need the healing, when they need to deeply heal themselves, they do not go out into the sunshine. They go and find a corner in the room that's generally dark, and they curl up and they become steady. They become aware of what it is that it's required of to heal from within. So the darkness is where we're at in some cases. But don't lose your hope, because that's in that darkness, you're going to find answers to healing. That's where you're going to find true guidance for next steps that you need to take cautiously and carefully. But take care of your body, take care of your immune system, and that's where we're at. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, and I will talk to you soon. And thanks for your patience, and I look forward to reading your comments. Bye.